topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
We have me on. Yay. This is Sunny Chayes, and you are with me today on Singing in the Rain on UBN. And we are so excited to have you today because we are going to talk about the 4-minute mile, but not in running, in relationships. I'm so excited to bring to you guys the idea and the possibility of having a sensual, sacred, super respectful, super feeding relationship. And I know a lot of people feel that that's not possible, but we are here today to tell you it is possible. And the more people who know that, the more people who will just do it. So I want to share with you a little bit about from Rumi, which I absolutely love, which is when you find your path, you find your love story. When you find love, you find yourself. Falling in love is the entrance point to love's eternal journey, ecstasy. And also, love can heal, love can renew, love can make us safe, love can inspire us with its power, love can bring us closer to God. And this is another poem by Rumi. I love this so much. You were created to be completely loved and completely lovable for your whole life. So by saying that, that just leads me right into my first beautiful, lovable guest. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Dr. Sarah Larsen is with us today. I think we just need applause right away, John, because we just do. We just do. We just do. She is a co-host of another show called Love Talk. She's a transformational teacher. She's a guide who inspires. She's a third-generation palm reader, and I've had her read my palm, and I had no idea that so much information and love and peace and growth for me can happen just from my palm, and opportunity that's there still when I thought, oh, that's just a wrinkle or whatever. No, it's kind of good news. She is also a medical intuitive. She's an MD, doctor, that type. Transformational and neuro-linguistics, programming, hypnosis, emotional freedom technique, artist, and so many more things. And I told her that when we bring her on, she needs to give me some of her bio as we go along because it's so long. I want her to be able to, I'm giving her the stage to do that. So without any further ado, we are singing in the rain and we are bringing the love with Dr. Sarah Larsen.
Oh, thank you
Yay!
so much.
One more applause for her.
Woo! Yay!
We need a lot of applause today, guys. We're shaking it up. We're myth-busting about relationships.
We are. And I think in every shape and form, I love being on the show with you because you are so exceptional. Having read your poem, having read where you started out and where you are now within the lines of your hand. And I'm amazed that this is something that I get to do. And it's an amazing thing because I was born in a third world country. I was born in Pakistan, and we watched black and white television with all the neighbors. We were one of the wealthiest families in the neighborhood. We'd flip the cloth on our really large TV, and on the TV would come, and I call everyone sort of Bob Hope or and Audrey Hepburn, because in my mind back then everyone was, because those were the names I could remember and pronounce at that age. Oh, there's Bob Hope, and they're touring the country, or they're singing in the rain in Paris, and they're having
Gene Kelly.
Right. For me, this is one of those profound moments that I'm on a show with you in studio in Hollywood, which were distant lands away from possibility from where I was born. And the way that it comes to be that I'm here is I had people around me constantly showing me and reminding me what's possible. What is really, really the next little step that I can take that can make the next moment a little bit better. And through that moment-to-moment awareness and looking for those possibilities, doors from around the world just continually open. And I could, like anyone else, have the ability to say, oh, like the 4-minute mile. No one had broken the 4-minute mile. They thought it was impossible. Scientists declared it. It's not possible.
Yes,
And-
physiologically with our bones and muscles, that it was not what a human being could do.
And the first person who broke the record
Yep.
within a few months, there were so many other people that broke the record.
Right. Yes.
And so with that, anyone who's listening anywhere in the world, truly knowing that whatever desire, whatever dream, whatever is buried within you, much like Rumi, everything that you're here to do, that you can imagine doing, is possible for you to do, given that you take one simple step in the direction of what's possible for you in your area. And you trust that that desire that's there is put there by that which created you for the greatest good, to come to you, to those that you love, and to the world.
Oh, I love this. And the thing that we're going to be talking about on this show today specifically is the fact that people may not know what is possible when it comes to relationships. Ecstatic, sacred, blissful encounters with a person that they're in love with. And that is what I think, especially in the Western world, and not to talk too much about what is, but there's a lot of sort of what is normal, which is not specifically what I just mentioned. It's a lot of a different way. And again, that may be normal, but I believe it's not natural. And so I think that we are going to be talking about how to fill ourselves up and what it means to do that, and to be with somebody else who's filled up, and then play together. But we're going to get kind of specific, guys. We're going to actually give you some tips and tools and stuff. But by the end of this show, hopefully you will actually know that you too can have a phenomenal relationship. And
a man or a woman in your life, it's possible for you. And I believe that's one of the biggest desires of every human being, is to relate to another that they find desirable and feel safe and desired and respected by.
Exactly. So what we talked about before, and I'm just going to kind of lay this out for you guys, and this is something that I had modeled for me when I was young, and have sort of held out and decided that's the only way I want to play, which is the idea that a relationship is, let's take the example of a man and woman just for the discussion right now, and sort of like a pyramid. And so we've got the man in one area and the woman on the two baselines, and both are all filled up and doing their own work and having their life however it is, and then they come together in relationship, which is the apex, the top, like again, if we're drawing it like a diamond or a triangle or a TP or like that, and then that top is the relationship, and the relationship is actually is an entity, a growing, feeling, breathing entity, and the two people feed that relationship, and the relationship feeds the two people, and the two people then feed each other as they feed themselves. So it's that is, to me, the most sacred, incredible way of, and that's just a start, guys. Okay, that's just the beginning. And we're going to get into sex, and we're going to get into all the fun stuff, but that's really the base. Yes, I mean, that should just be the beginning.
Analogy. I just got back from Egypt, leading a tour in Egypt, so having a pyramid as the basis of a working, awesome relationship, and sort of the tip being this aspect of you are more together than you are on an individual level. And if you're solid in the base foundation and understanding what your needs are, what you value, and partnering with someone truly that knows what their needs and what their values are, together the sum of that part can grow so beautifully and be a point in which other relationships, other people can count on you. You can see the pyramids just about anywhere in town. You can see the tip of what that stands for.
Beautiful.
And it becomes this beautiful symbol for everyone else to know where to set themselves up. and
Ah.
a foundation and a base around that as well.
Oh, I love that. As you were talking, I was thinking of a couple things. You guys, I love to myth bust. So there are a couple of things. The sort of love never means having to say you're sorry, and we know that is silliness. And then also the idea that you complete me idea. I want to
Yes.
kind of myth bust that a little bit, because let's myth
Yes.
bust that, shall we?
So it's such a beautiful thing. My husband that
Who we're gonna have on
who
soon.
we're gonna have soon, really taught me, you're forgiven before you do anything, and it became a personal mantra. The pyramid imagery, that one thing that we could always point to, no matter what happened, we stood by. You're forgiven before you do anything. You're in this relationship, and this is a safe place for you to share anything that you intend to share with me. It's a safe place for you to share what you imagine. It's a safe place for you to go travel the world and explore. And when you look back, I'm going to say, I'm safe. You're safe. There's nothing that you can do that you're not forgiven for. But that doesn't mean we're not responsible. In our love for each other, I know what he values. I know what he needs. And so I'm staying true to my genuine love for him, coming from the inside of myself, generating this, whatever I'm going to share, whatever I'm going to explore, whatever I'm going to say, it's forgiven before I say anything or do anything. It's welcome is the opposite of that.
See, and I even like that better, because even the word forgiven, I think, already sort of pre-assumes a bit of an issue or a problem.
Yes.
So I even like to elevate from there and just say that there's sort of, there's a line from a singer-songwriter, Ricky Byers-Beckwith. She wrote a song called Fade Into God, and one of the
Yes.
lines in there is, there are no mistakes in God. So I want to even, kind of even myth bust through there a little bit.
Yes. Which, yeah, I love Ricky Byers-Beckwith. I love the agape community. And
yeah.
what's really, if you can see your beloved as God would see your beloved, or that which you call God, or that which you really respect. In nature, there are no accidents.
Right.
Everything happens. Water flows easily down, and any rock that it's coming across, it will move around the rock in the easiest possible form.
Oh, yeah.
And so in a conscious, loving relationship, you find a way in which you allow your partner to flow with who they are, and you learn to flow with who you are, really knowing the rock solid nuggets of what makes up their foundation, what makes up yours. And for me, you're constantly curious.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I really love the curiosity. I love to hold on to that, because I think one of the things that happens in relationships, even in family relationships, is that some people get to know us at a certain age or time, and then they sort of get a snapshot, but they get a little bit caught, or they see us in that way. And so,
Yes.
again, a myth bust I want to just bring is that aspect of curiosity, to always be curious, to allow the person you're with to change, to grow, and to know that today is a new day, people. Like, come on, let's bring it. It's a new day. That was yesterday, but what's up today? And again, the idea that, back to the sort of myth busting of the you complete me thing,
Yes.
is that I'm complete. I'm already complete. So it's not about you having to complete me and fill up my Swiss cheese holes and my issues and my baggage and my whatever. That's my job.
Yes.
I feel. Don't you?
I do. And I see that from the standpoint of there's only one person in a relationship that can change, and that's you.
Right.
If you take full responsibility for that relationship, if everything that you do, meaning even though I expect or make agreements with my husband, I come to understand that the only real person that I can change and the only real responsibility that I have is to take a look at my part and change what I can change. And
or just be true to yourself. And also, it's all okay, people. Like, it's not even about change. I mean, I'm gonna keep myth busting you here.
Good.
I don't even know if it's about changing. I mean, I think sometimes, there might be some change that goes on, but it's just sort of about, accepting and with the water thing and knowing that it's all good. And again, if we're doing what we're doing, we're just, we're digesting our own food. I mean, come on, like that's what we're doing.
This is from this standpoint of when I completed med school, when I was doing my charity work with non-government organizations, when I was out in the world, I came from this really amazing place of being so good in that area, so able to help. And when it came to relationships, I came with a desire. I came with a wanting and a connectedness, a knowing that it was possible to have something beautiful. And as I spoke truth, and I said, honey, I'm insecure about this. This is what these are the words I would love to hear to feel safe. When this occurs, I feel that. When I could take full responsibility for what I was feeling and what emotions I was having, and he could sit with and be in a space of, you can share whatever. Anything that you share is welcome, and we'll get through this together. Sort of that apex of the pyramid. It allowed
feeding you too.
Right. The promise of being together, the promise of working on and loving one another, despite whichever particular brick we were showing each other. If we go back to the pyramid analogy, there's little bricks, and in ourselves we're whole and complete as that brick. But if I'm showing him one face of the brick, he's not just getting stuck on that.
Absolutely.
And able to reflect back the whole and saying all of it's welcome. All of it's welcome. And vice versa, as he's sharing with me. And quite often, this is one of the hardest things for women. We build men up to not be emotional or not have the needs but similar to what we need. We build them up through our movies. In Hollywood, we build them up in various ways through relationships, how we expect another to show up. And so if I had gone out on a date with my husband with my perfect Hollywood version of my guy, and I was comparing him to my Hollywood version, oh, he likes children, check. Hollywood guy in my mind that is going to be my ideal mate likes children, yay. Oh, but he goes camping in the rough. Oh, my Hollywood guy doesn't go camping in the rough. I can't imagine myself camping in the rough. And that's like an Xbox. Then I'm never really present with him. I'm always comparing him to this very image in my mind, and instead of getting curious with him, like in that situation, going, I've never gone camping in the rough. I can't imagine being in the rough. What's that like?
And check it out, and it works or it doesn't. Well,
right,
I
and
think,
even in that conversation, because I'm checking off on this imaginary list with this imaginary guy in the middle between our relationship. And so,
Well, and that's, I think, the most, one of the things that I love to do, again, is to, you were saying sort of how do I feel and how is my brick and all these different feelings. And I'm thinking one of the most important things in being in a relationship is, I'll use the word responsibility, but I'm going to take that even deeper, is really knowing who we are. And really understanding what does work. And I mean, I've been in relationships with people who get really cranky when they're hungry. So it's like, okay, take responsibility and eat. Men tend to be bears, either cuddly or grizzly. So let's, take care of it and figure it out. Or let's bring some nuts in the car when we go on our journey, or our walkabout or whatever. Let's make sure. So, and again, for me, certain things that I know make me to take care of myself, if I need a certain amount of sleep or whatever it is, but that's even the basic kind of stuff. But the deep stuff, what does make me happy? Do I need to be doing more music to just fill myself up? And then if I'm with somebody where I'm not getting to be able to do the music, it's like, okay, well, I need to take a day to do music. you know,
Yes.
come with me and play and do music, or go, go play football, whatever. But I got to do a little music here because that's what I need for me, or work out, or do yoga, or whatever it is. But for us, but the first part is at this age that any of us are at this point, listening or hearing or feeling or whatever, is to get closer to who we really are. Don't you think?
I think that's so beautiful, and relationships work so beautifully for that. It's so easy to sit in a cave or sit in a room and be okay with yourself, and
Well, I don't know.
yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, go ahead.
And then you bring in someone, and this someone
And the real
is-
fun begins.
right, and they're examining, and during those tense times when you are hungry and when you are wanting another person to be cared for and see you as a caring, loving person, how do you show up? How do you get your needs met?
Okay, I have to tell you something really
Yes.
funny. When I was in high school, and then we're going to bring Greg on because Greg is laughing and all that, and John,
Yes.
just be ready to. I need to do like a beautiful introduction and all that, but I want to bring Greg on. When I was 18 or that age, and I was dating, and I was kind of a late bloomer and stuff, I would do different things. Like I would just casually be at the piano playing and singing, knowing that he would walk in, the door would just be open so he could come in and just hear me, and then I would be like, oh my goodness, hello, or whatever. And then I had my whole list. Like I wanted them to see me with small children and animals. I wanted them to see me be creative. It was like I was my own home entertainment center. And then it was like, and it was so much pressure. And it was, you know what, but none of that was really me. That was a bunch of stuff I did.
Yes.
But, a home entertainment center is nothing without the music or the TV coming through, right? I mean, there was no soul. I mean, I shouldn't say no soul. I mean, all of it was part of me, and none of it was the whole story.
The soul was covered up with all these masks of stories.
Just my
that
own
you had heard.
expectation of how I thought someone would love me. And honestly, I did not think that I could just walk in a room and sit in a chair and talk to somebody. And I had amazing
Yes.
parents, and I had, it wasn't about all that. I don't want to be all, poor me and violence, but for whatever reason, and I did a lot of work on myself even then, but for some reason, that tidbit for me was that I needed to be a lot of other stuff. I needed to be I needed to do a lot of stuff in order to be loved, and that was not a fun feeling.
It's an amazing thing when we give ourselves permission to be exactly who we are, and to share from this level of it doesn't matter if you're going to like me or not like me. I'm going to show up as myself in order to allow you to show up as yourself.
Well, and that's exactly how anyone is going to love us, and we all know
Yes.
that. Okay, now I'm just okay. Let's just bring on Greg now because I keep chatting with him, and he's not even on the show.
Yeah.
So, John, we're going to bring on Greg, but this is the wonderful and fabulous Greg Larsen. Husband of the beautiful Sarah Larsen. And you know what? I will let you do a bit of an introduction. He's an amazing
yes,
singer-songwriter,
he
and I'll let you say,
is.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay,
or 30
awesome.
seconds.
I met the most beautiful man walking down the street at a concert in Nashville. And the more I spoke with him, the more I discovered how amazing he is. He's a teacher of learning how to be in the present moment. He works with just people from around the world, leaders of bands, helping them cultivate their presence in the present moment. And it's just a brilliant thing that he's a singer-songwriter. He's an amazing father to our kids born in 2006 and 2004. And he is such a celebration of life in every moment. He is a yes.
Oh my God, that's a great introduction. You did a little better than I could have, I gotta say. It's smart of me to give it to you. So,
Awesome.
Greg, join us. So, speak your wisdom to it. What do you think of we girls chatting away here about what our issues?
Such
and our
woo-woo
feelings?
stuff. Holy cow. It's just like not practical at all. To be honest, I'm just sitting here watching Sarah speak, and I'm like, wow, she is so beautiful. Wow. I'm just like, I could sit here for hours and just watch her have conversations because she's not aware that I'm looking at her. I'm just like, oh my God, she's so beautiful and so smart.
Guys,
and
this
so
is possible for you too. Okay, I'm just telling you the 4-minute mile. Okay, I keep reminding you. Yes, and he was watching you, by the way, sir. I was watching him watch you. It's like, this is just so cool. I'm just so happy we're all here today. So the idea of being, of allowing, we were earlier talking, I said to you guys about some of the things that I tell young girls that I've learned myself about, sort of the romance, the beginning dance of a romance. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, someone does meet at a party or in a situation, and you guys had one sort of circumstance. There can be another where the girl is very darling, she thinks, and she looks sexy at a party, and then a guy just adores her and just puts her on a pedestal. Let's just put it that way right away. And I was saying that I find that to be, that's happened to me a few times, and I find it to be a nightmare. It's either you get knocked off it, and it really hurts when you fall on the ground from that high place, or it's a very lonely place to be. Two do not join up on the pedestal. One is down, sort of looking up, and the other is there by themselves. And in that case with me, I never felt known and loved. I never felt known or loved. How can I? I'm up there by myself on the pedestal.
It's an amazing thing when you begin a relationship. The first parts is as you're starting, and we're each going through a cycle separately. But each of us start noticing all the similarities. You meet someone, you're like, oh, I like that too. I like this. I like that. And you're like, oh, he's just like me. He likes this. He likes that. He likes this.
I love him. He's just like me.
You notice all the similarities, and you get to this really juicy place. And then all of a sudden, you start noticing the differences. And one of the people might notice the differences sooner than the other one does. And they notice, wow, he's really different about this. He's really different about that. And then you come to this place where you notice a difference that has you be a decision point. Either you're going to work on and you see something that looks like you can reach the top of the pyramid, or you decide, wow, this difference is way too out. Too far out from my comfort zone, and you move away from the relationship and you continue going. And sometimes when you're put on a pedestal, the person is noticing the ways that they want to be like you. They put all of these qualities that they see you as, and they've labeled you with these qualities of having. And when they in themselves put you in that place, and I know you can speak to coming into the moment and how to bring yourself into the moment when you're starting to notice those differences and the urges of moving away. What are some of those things?
Well, what comes to mind as soon as you were bringing that up is that, that's the dance with the ego. It's like the ego is what puts another person on a pedestal. And then when you feel like that and you embrace that, that's the ego also thinking how special or how unique. And obviously that's a very fragile place to be in. And so ultimately what's been my course in life is to, through all my practices, is to diminish the ego in my life. And as I do that over the years, the more and more I find that I'm able to love more authentically, and also to be more genuine, to be more nurturing, to be more caring, just to be who I'm inside. I mean, I probably had ideas of who I wanted to be when I was young as a guy. I'd be tough, and I'd be this, and I'd be that. I'd be macho. I'd be, I'd be a stud, and all this stuff like that. It's like, but there's a much deeper place for me inside. And so my journey has been a journey of, not breaking down the ego, but just dissolving the ego. Because when you do that, then you get to that super duper juicy place of not only being able to receive love, which is why I love Sarah so much, because I was in a relationship before, got divorced, but so I have some experience. And but when I'm with Sarah, I truly feel through every cell in my body that I'm unconditionally loved. And to know that as a human being, I think is such a gift. And that comes from dissolving the ego, so we can get to that place where we can feel that not only just by saying words or by looking in the eyes, but I mean, it's a full body vibration communicating to the other person, you are loved.
So one thing that came to my mind when you were talking about the ego is, let us for a moment talk about sense of humor and laughter. All right, let us just all laugh. Because there are times when, luckily, I can crack up at myself. I mean, and that's come only, I would say, more recently in my life. But to be able to see the ego, and again, the ego is there, and it's not always not our friend. I mean, it's there, and it's part of the, it's part of our journey at this point anyway. But sometimes I will look at behavior I do or a way I've put myself somewhere, and I will just literally crack up because it's like that, Sonny. I mean, really, with that? I mean, come on. So isn't that great? Isn't that part of
letting go,
being able to not take ourselves so seriously,
Yes.
and know that just to add that lightness and it's not superficial, but just the lightness of it. Don't you guys think? Do you find that helps you guys?
That's actually
Yeah.
a sign of your spiritual growth, is when you're actually able to laugh at yourself or laugh at how the ego wants to pretend to be in the world. When you can see that and be separate from it somewhat and be able to laugh, that's a sign of spiritual maturity. So bravo on your spiritual maturity.
It's such a
Thank you.
fabulous place to get to. And I think one of the best ways to really understand ego is your ego has been triggered when you're offended or when you're hurt. And when the hurt or the offense comes up, that's when you go inside and get curious about what's going on,
Nice.
what's in here. And one of the ways that when that comes up, and this is where I laugh at myself most now, is when I look back at all the things that I did in order to be loved or to feel worthy of love, and I share them, and I can laugh at how inauthentic I was in the past, and in the tools that I had to receive love. And I can laugh at that inauthenticity that was so, like, I had a hard time being from Pakistan. And so
Even though you were.
even though I was, and
Like,
it's
that's
like
your reality.
written on my skin. It's my hair color. It's everything around me. And growing up in the South, in New Orleans, and I would walk around and people would say, "Where are you from?" And I'd say, "India." Back then, 20 years ago, no one knew where Pakistan was. They would mix it up with other countries.
And not that many years ago, it was India. So
And not that many years ago, it was part of the same land. And my
Absolutely.
parents claimed it to be, my
Yeah.
grandparents still call it India. It's an amazing thing but I was pretending to be from Louisiana. I was pretending to be from, India.
sell that
Right,
somewhere else.
right, that whole, because I hadn't made peace with it. And every time someone would say, "Where are you from?" there was this irritation inside myself. Because
Like, can't I just be from here? Like, why do you ask me that question all the time?
Right.
Yeah.
There was a little bit
Can't
of
I just
hurt,
blend in?
or I was offended in my little parts, and that subtle little sub energy finally got me to a place where I was like, wow, I've got to make peace with this is the place that I came from. I've got to make peace with this is my heritage. I've got to make peace. And so every time I got hurt or offended, around that, it was sort of like a little key, a little clue. And I kept digging deeper and deeper, and I didn't have to go searching for it. It would show up in the moments that I would need to become aware of it.
Absolutely. It's like me saying about the home entertainment center thing.
Yes.
It's like, I then realized, wow, if that is how I actually feel like I need to be presenting in the world to receive love, even though I received it very easily from my family and all that, I was just completely accepted. So this was something I really put on myself for some reason. And luckily it was short-lived, but I'm sure it was not fun to be around. And then when I realized this was happening, and then to get to the other side of it and think it's actually possible for me to just walk into a room, sit in a chair, and chat with someone and have them dig me. Like, really? That's actually can be? And that was such a relief. I mean, the again with the bricks, the
Yes.
bricks just fell off my shoulders, and the
Yes.
pressure. It's like, wow, this is so much easier.
And
A little more scary, but also.
it is, because we're in that space of being vulnerable, where there's no preconceived way of being. You can go in and let yourself be filled up by what's in the room,
Yeah.
and you're there just as curiosity, as eyes to interact with, a space of possibilities,
Yeah.
and genuine, and
And humor. I love this, like the idea that we're going to boil down this show, or if anybody does, to the idea of curiosity and humor and reality, or whatever
Yes.
that means, which is, and truth, which is always changing, and that's part of what the creativity, the curiosity, and the humor is. Because again,
Yes.
like whatever's true today is gone tomorrow. Whatever. I mean, it just is. Even however old we are, or whatever, anything is moving.
And I have a question for you. How do you think authenticity and integrity and that humor and curiosity shows up in, to me, you're a rock star. How does that show up in a rock star's world with coming out in this conversation? How's the masculine looking at this?
I'll just start though by saying that you were talking about truth and how it's always changing, which is so true, which is why I think we're still madly in love after 10 years. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. It's because the truth was never been fixed. It's always been changing for us. And all along the way, even though there's been ups and downs and arguments and confrontations, I always witness growth and change and a new truth being embodied. And because of that, there was, without doubt, I could be committed to you because you were committed to your growth, to letting go of old truths, to embracing new truths, to becoming a new you, all of that, all along. And now we're in this amazing place in our relationship because we're embracing new truths and we're letting go of what was in the past. And so because of that, I have not only an amazing love in this moment right now as we speak, but I know I'll have an amazing love tomorrow and for the rest of my life with you.
I want to remind people, by the way, I'm so enamored with you two, by the way. I'm just like in heaven here, that you guys are listening to Sunny Chayes, and this is Singing in the Rain. And let's just laugh. And I'm with the amazing Dr. Sarah Larsen and her beautiful, beautiful husband, Greg Larsen. And guys, I want to get to sex for a little bit, shall we?
Yes.
May we? Can we? So one of the
Me
things...
too, by the way. Always and whenever, so just let me know.
Sex, please. Yes, thank you. So this is one thing that I want to talk about because I feel like... so there are these terms, Tantra, and there are different terms that are put out there. One thing that I feel really lucky about was that I was a late bloomer. I'll just tell you guys, so you can't really get at me, so I can say these things. But I was a very late bloomer, and the idea of connecting with somebody was pretty special to me. And I didn't take it lightly at all. And I didn't know Tantra or the 5 Tibetans or things like that when I was younger, but I did have an idea. I didn't have sex very much, actually. But when I do, it's definitely quality, not quantity, people. So, okay, laugh all you want, but don't you agree? So, but then you can have a lot of quality. So, but yeah, so there are actual ways. It's not, Tantra is not just about staying and being able to have sex for 14 hours and all that, but there really is, again, I've had masters tell me to not, when one meets a new person, to not actually have sex for 3 months. To really let all of that stuff catch up, and the knowing, and a little bit of history, and a little bit of caring, and a little bit of connection. And it doesn't mean no touching of any kind, but it just means not actually having intercourse for 3 months. And so anyway, Smiley Sarah, Smiley Doc, jump in. I know you just can't wait. So dive in with me.
It's such an amazing place because masculine and feminine energies and all relationships, whether they're gay, straight, heterosexual, all of them have an ebb and a flow of this energy. The masculine energy is a giving principle, and the feminine energy a receiving principle. And so in relationships, when we start out, it's great to start with rules like that. When you're exploring being intimate with others, it's great to set up rules that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you expand and your consciousness and you're witnessing what's happening for you expand, meaning your abilities grow, the more in tune you are with yourself. And if you think back to any relationship, you've been in, when you went too quickly into the sack, or went too quickly into, or stayed away too long from that, you knew at some level there was, so all the relationships that didn't work, you knew prior to getting physical with them that there was something incongruent with those
Yes.
relationships.
Yes.
And I think sex is a space that we enter together. It's like a literal physical space. It's if I'm able to share and be connected to myself in my knowing, in my physical body, in my understanding of love and understanding of sexuality for me. And just a little bit of my history. I came from a wounded place and had to rediscover how to heal in sex. I came from the first time our first conversation, I spoke about my first sexual experience in third person. I had to distance myself from it.
And just to quickly say, you had a different culture, and you were in Pakistan, and you had an arranged marriage. We don't have to go into the whole thing.
Right, we
but
don't
you
have to go
guys
into the
know.
detail.
Yeah,
And I
so
was
all of that, though.
right, but
yeah.
my first sexual act was forced on me.
And you were very young.
And I was very young, 14. And so when I came into relationship, or the sex question came up, it was always from that place of hurt, place of woundedness at first.
And fear.
And fear.
Yeah.
And eventually, through my understanding of myself, of what it meant, of sharing myself authentically, and especially with Greg, where he could really hear what I was saying and enter the space of us being intimate together. He heard what I was saying. He listened to my spirituality. He listened on a mental level.
And to your humanity.
Right. He listened on an emotional level. And when I felt heard, given to that space, I could then enter together on this physical level into deeper levels of intimacy.
So I want to say one thing about that, because I've just met you guys, but it like gets me, because I can feel from you that every time she talks about this, you kind of go somewhere. You know, it really gets you. And so this happened a really long time ago, but
Yes.
it's as if it's, you know, anytime it comes up, it's as if you're feeling it for the first time with her. So it's very powerful to even be listening to you and looking at you with tears in your eyes, for you who cannot see our show. So I didn't really mean to interrupt you, but it's really powerful.
And I'd love for you to share from the masculine perspective.
Yes, please.
The intimacy, but from the feminine perspective, the one that receives, I felt my words, my spirit, my mental, my emotional received. You were giving to me of your space, so much so that I wanted to give to you on the physical level.
Wow, that's such a huge topic to explore. But you know, what comes to mind immediately is that when we met, of course, she's super sexy, and you know, I could not think of anything else. But somehow, you know, how do I play this right so I can like make love to this beautiful woman as soon as possible? But she was in a very strong place at that time. Ultimately, after a few weeks into it, she came down to, well, if we are going to do this, you have to go take a test. So it was like, wow, what a great, you know, get tested for SD. What it was like, I was like, that's so beautiful. What a great boundary that you had. And so, and even like, oh, now I have to go and do this and set up an appointment. I have to go, all that stuff like that. So, but it was like, it was not to get sex, but ultimately it was just to honor her, for one, and to go through that whole process. And then, but because you were talking about earlier, the whole 3-month thing, it was like, tell my daughter that, please. She's only 9. But I'm trying to think already. It's like, how can I tell her to, like, what can you do? What strategies can I impart on her so she'll take it more slowly? Because it is such
isn't it about the keeping the idea? I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just want to say this little thing, and keep your thought, please. I know you have a pen and paper, so don't lose it. But the idea that in a relationship there are a number of things. There is the physical beauty that one sees in the other, especially if it may not exist for other people. Hopefully the humor that maybe other people don't laugh at the jokes, but I would find the guy hilarious. A little bit of history, a little bit of going through a few things. I mean, yes, I can have dinner with someone and it can be amazing, but I mean, there's not that history, there's not that knowing a bit about somebody. There is the continued sharing, knowing a bit more of the person. Just the experiences, just watching, just as somebody moves through their life. How do they handle a situation or 12 situations? How are they to the waiter in the restaurant? How are they to people in their lives, to their gardener or to people they work with? How are they? They can be however with me, but how are they with their friends? Do they have other friends? What are their relationships like with their family? I mean, all these things take a little time, and to have all of those things in a balance, like cooking in your kitchen with all different ingredients, bringing them all together. And then the romantic physical aspect, I mean, yes, holding hands or kissing or hugging or feeling the energy of someone when you're holding them can be as erotic as actually having sex. In a lot of ways, I found it more erotic, or especially if it's rushed, because it's not the same energy. So I just want to share that.
Yeah, no, all that is, as we're having this conversation, it's just like, it's almost like, I don't know how to quite say it, but it's almost like our society has lost the rituals and the space that we should hold. Because as a man, I went through this group called the New Warriors. We went through an initiation process because, as they say, our culture has lost this process where young men are initiated by the elders. And so there's no wisdom in boys anymore. There's no wisdom in men anymore because we've lost what elders had to teach us. And so we're just stumbling around, and everything is so ego, and on the surface there's no depth really. We've lost a lot of depth.
And there's a lot available. There's sort of a lot thrown at all of us all the time as well.
And we see indicators, so many all over the place. Every billboard that you see has a sexy woman or a sexy man. We have all of these images and all of these ways of being also thrown at us from the outward. Yeah. And I think with sex, and I know with sex, one of my boundaries was very clear. I wasn't going to get into a physical relationship unless I could read your medical report. And know
and of course
that
you can read it,
right?
If I got it, that'd be a different story.
I got the okay, and that was really important for me. I had, I think, going on a road trip together.
Ooh,
before
that's a
you
good
get
one.
intimate is before you go into that.
What tunes do you like? That's a good one.
Right,
it's
riding together for a distance.
Yes.
In that relationship, under pressure, in traffic, in whatever is going to
time, the rhythm of the two people. How when do you want to? Because I found that with girlfriends, but there's certain people you travel with so easily and effortlessly with, and other people are like, okay, no, that's a good one. I like that. Oh wow, we have 3 minutes, so we're gonna know that. Okay.
Awesome. For anyone that's listening out there, you touched on this, and I really want to hit this. We have an intimacy cycle with ourselves. When we're in relationship with anyone, if you look at an hour clock and where 12 falls, that's when you're really most intimate. And then where 3 o'clock falls, you have this urge to be separate. And where 6 o'clock on a clock might be, you have this urge to be autonomous, to be with yourself. And where 9 o'clock falls, you have cooperation. And then back to 12 o'clock, intimacy. Everything in the universe works in this cycle. The sun with the earth, trees with the ground, the seasons of earth, all have this intimacy cycle. And sometimes we have in our relationships this expectation that we're supposed to want to be with the other all the time. And
No,
where
no, no.
12 o'clock is, that's where that natural desire to be intimate with our partner is. And where 6 o'clock falls is where we need to be with ourselves and expressing ourselves, that autonomy.
Well, and what I want to share with you about that too, and Greg, what do you think about this too, is that yes, I mean, I think that, and then sometimes women are a little more, that way, and men need their space, or, either way, however it all falls. And I absolutely love that. And I love the idea of, again, a myth bust, because for thousands of years, what happened? Men and women were together, but then what would happen is the men would go off for like a month and go, kill buffalo or whatever, and the women would all hang out and do whatever, and then the men would come home and everybody would have sex and it would all be great for a short bit, and then the men would go off again. Now, guys, see, this is okay. I was talking to my sister about this on the way over, because that's like, I love men who are independent. I asked for that in my list. Please have a man who's rocking his life. I am not his whole world. I do not complete him. He's got it going on. And then when we come together, and I do too, and then we come together, we play and we have an amazing time. So don't you totally agree with that, even though Sarah's so gorgeous? But, it's like, go and hunt buffalo or whatever, or play poker or whatever. We have 1 minute. So I'm before we actually round this up, I am going to tell everybody, I want to let people know how they can get to you guys really fast.
My website, www.drsarahlarsen.com. It's DRSARAH. Larsen, LARSEN.com.
Perfect. And you guys know you can go to me, Sunny Chayes, at youtube.com. And Greg, and both of you are life coaches, so they can come to both of you guys for more, and you can bring your peeps. You can grab your, your date from Saturday night and see if it's going to really happen. And Sarah can read your palm and see if you actually fit together. Because, the stuff she told me was amazing. So many things about what I meant to be doing in the world, and I thought it was just going to be like my liver was weak or something. So, John, we literally have can Greg? We have to say bye-bye right now. Okay, so until next time, everybody say bye. Bye, Greg. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you, Sunny. You rock.
Oh
Sunny,
my God,
thank you so much.
you guys so much. And until next time, remember, we do make a difference. We do have the power of one, and let's just be the power of ones and come together with our power of one, and then have some amazing power. Okay, and then go find out about the 5 Tibetans. We didn't get to talk about that, but go research the 5 Tibetans. If you want your sex life to rock, go find 5 Tibetans. Okay, I will leave you with that. Bye-bye for now. Bye. Gotta go so fast.